In Peru, human rights groups demand the release of social leaders detained during the demonstrations against President Dina Boluarte in the city of Ayacucho. Bolivia's General Attorney's Office filed 2 more charges against former Santa Cruz Governor Luis Fernando Camacho for his role in the 2019 coup d'etat. Russia's defense ministry confirmed on Friday its forces took control of the eastern Ukrainian town of Solidar. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. On Thursday, in Peru, human rights groups are demanding the release of social leaders detained during demonstrations against President Dina Boluarte in the city of Ayacucho. Hundreds of people gathered in front of the Ayacucho police headquarters pressing for the release of the demonstrators. Among them is the president and 2 other leaders of the People's Defense Front of Ayacucho. The National Human Rights Coordinator of Peru warned that the persecution of social leaders will only aggravate polarization in the country. In the city of Cusco, the police repressed demonstrations using tear gas bombs and firearms, leaving 1 minor dead and over 50 injured. On January 4th, the indefinite strike against the Boluarte government was resumed after a brief truce, demanding the closure of the Congress, new elections, a constituent assembly, and the release of former President Pedro Castillo. In Bolivia, the General Attorney's Office has filed 2 more charges against former Santa Cruz Governor Luis Fernando Camacho. The 10th Court of Criminal Precautionary Instruction of La Paz said they will add bribery and troop sedition to the already existing charge of terrorism. Camacho is currently serving 4 months of pre-trial detention in the maximum security prison of Chonchocoro. He was arrested on December 29th for his alleged involvement in the coup against former Bolivian President Evo Morales in 2019, which forced him out of the country, leaving Yanine Áñez in power. In this context, the General Attorney's Office had first applied the legal figure of terrorism, which refers to the subversion of the constitutional order or the ousting of a constitutionally elected government. The president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, presented to the National Assembly his government's report. The president made references to the economic and social recovery of the country, in addition to pointing out the upcoming challenges that the South American nation will face. The Venezuelan president also explained the realities on fiscal and financial matters. At the same time, he highlighted the resistance of the people and the efforts of the national government in the face of the sanctions imposed by the government of the United States. The president stressed that according to the cabinet's estimates, this year the programs for the benefit of the people will be strengthened through the coordination with the organizations of the people's power. Further, in his remarks, President stressed the need to build a post-petroleum economy, a truly independent economy.
We have insisted on the need of building a post-petroleum economy, a diverse economy, good and services economy, self-independent, self-sufficient economy. We have studied it very much. OPEC founder spoke about this, Juan Pablo Pérez Alfonso. Luis Beltrán Pedro Figueroa also spoke about this.
President Maduro referred to the present as a transitional period in the struggle of the Venezuelan people for an even more just society.
New times in the world and in our region. I believe that Venezuela needs to set big goals from that point onwards, new transformation times. We have talked about it. New transitional time towards a new society with democracy, liberty, equality, justice, and happiness that we practice and share, that we can exercise our economic, social, and political rights.
And in Argentina, the impeachment trial of the 4 members of the Supreme Court of Justice for poor performance on their duties promoted by the government of Alberto Fernandez has already been scheduled after the leak of telephone chats between judicial officials and sectors of the Macrismo party, where a possible agreement was made before issuing a ruling in favor of the city of Buenos Aires. From Buenos Aires, precisely, our correspondent Fernando Alonso.
The Impeachment Commission will start working on this issue on January the 25th, while the opposition decided to block the treatment of any law in the Congress. This is stated by national legislator.
As long as the government shows that it is capable of breaking any agreement, I insist, which is the foundation of Argentina, nothing else can be discussed. So my position is, until this does not leave the scene, nothing in Argentina can be discussed.
Although the government in Congress has secured at least the votes in the committee, the left front is willing not to paralyze the parliament and criticize the agreements uncovered between the court and Together for Change.
Obviously, the sessions are convened with an agenda, and we evaluate them according to the agenda. But the truth is that the position of Juntos por el Cambio is completely reactionary. It is quite hypocritical. In fact, one of the great conflicts that will take place in that commission is that Elisa Carrió, who is a central part of Juntos por el Cambio, encouraged a political process against Lorenzetti, which triggered an internal conflict within the court in Juntos por el Cambio. A very clear double standard of the opposition.
At the same time, President Alberto Fernandez will open the congressional session next week in a video summarizing his administration. With an electoral tone, he criticized the opposition's links with the justice system in order to give a boost to the political trial.
Those who do not appreciate democracy, those who want a country for the few, without public health, without education, without a justice system that serves the powerful, and without rights for those who work, want to discourage us.
The leak of telephone chats started all this. The beginning of the impeachment trials of the Supreme Court in Argentina will be televised, and the government says that never before in the history of Argentina has the relationship of a political force with the judiciary looked so bare.
Fernando Alonso, TeleSUR, Buenos Aires.
Let's take a short break now, but first, remember you can follow us on our TikTok account at TeleSUR English, in which you will be able to see news in different formats, news updates and more. Other stories coming up, stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Cuba will assume the pro-tempore presidency of the G77 plus China, the largest and most diverse group in the multilateral arena, where it will have, among other purposes, to promote the objectives of the 2030 Agenda. The office handover took place as part of the 46th ministerial meeting of the G77 plus China held this Friday in New York. Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel spoke online during the ceremony, which was attended by the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres. The Cuban president thanked the election of his country to preside over the organization, while stressing that Cuba will promote international cooperation in order to support developing countries.
On behalf of the Cuban people and government, I thank the Group of 77 plus China for the trust it has placed in Cuba to preside this year of such a broad and representative universe of nations. We also commend the honorable work carried out by Pakistan at the head of the group for 2022. We're highly honored to represent this diverse and thriving group at a time of monumental challenges for developing countries. We assume it with total dedication and a commitment that we will never defraud nations whose people have been as oppressed and persecuted as the Cubans have. It is with these people that we have forged ties of brotherhood through our common goals and hopes.
Now we move on to other topics. Russia's defense ministry confirmed on Friday its forces took control of the eastern Ukrainian town of Solidar. Defense Ministry spokesperson Igor Kinashenkov said that the liberation of the town of Solidar was completed on January the 12th, adding that the town's importance for the continuation of offensive operations in the Donetsk region. Kinashenkov pointed out that full control over Solidar enables to cut off the supply routes of the Ukrainian troops in the southwestern town of Artyomovsk, and therefore to block and surround the remaining troops of the Ukraine armed forces in the town.
The liberation of the town of Solidar was complete on the evening of January 12th, which is important for the continuation of successful offensive operations in the Donetsk direction. Establishing full control over Solidar makes it possible to cut off supplies line for Ukrainian force in the town of Artyomovsk, located to the southwest, and then block and take into the cauldron. The units of the armed force of Ukraine remaining in it. The complex of measures implemented by the Russian group of troops ensured the successful offensive operations of the assault detachment to liberate Solidar. Over the past 3 days only, more than 700 Ukrainian servicemen and over 300 units of weapons of the armed forces of Ukraine have been destroyed near the city of Solidar.
And the United Nations Security Council met at its headquarters to discuss strengthening the rule of law. During the debate, there were contradictions between the representatives of the United States, China, and Russia. China's representative, Zhang Jun, argued against the double standards of certain countries in regards to international treaties and managements.
To strengthen the rule of law at the international level, the first order of business is to uphold the authority of international law. The UN Charter established the basic norms governing modern international relations. Its purpose and principles form the cornerstone of modern international law. Regrettably, however, the purpose and principles of the Charter have not been fully implemented, as scant few countries have willfully backed up of international treaties and agreements. Applied international law selectively pursued double standards and a utilitarian approach of using it when it suits one's own interests and discarding it when it doesn't. Such acts trample upon the authority of international law, chip away at the foundation of the rule of law at the international level, and undermine the harmony and stability of international relations. This approach must be abandoned.
In the same vein, the representative of Russia, Vasily Nebenzia, said that the West wants to sell a narrative of destructiveness against Russia, stating that this concept is not truthful and does not follow the norms of international law.
We have heard today confirmed that in raising the question about the rule of law, former Western partners just want to sell the narrative about the apparent responsibility of Russia for causing threats to international peace and security, ignoring, however, their own egregious violations. Clearly, such an interpretation which fully dovetails with the Western concept of war, rules-based order, where the rules are made by the West itself, is something we cannot agree with. This concept is not in line with truth or with the norms of international law, including the UN Charter.
Presidential elections began in the Czech Republic on Friday, with voters choosing the next head of state. Polling stations opened on Friday for about 8.3 million voters. The first round includes 8 candidates vying to run the country for the next 5 years and ends on Saturday. A According to the experts, no candidate is expected to win a majority, and the second round, expected 2 weeks later, will see the top 2 candidates compete. The winner will replace outgoing President Milos Zeman, who has reached the end of his second consecutive 5-year term and therefore is unable to run again. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back. Taiwan continued to hold military exercises on Thursday, simulating joint forces against an invading enemy from the sea in the southern region. On Thursday, amphibious tanks and Marine Corps soldiers were seen fire at the targets at the Kaohsiung Naval Base. Yu Shenping, the commandant of the Marine Corps Special Force, said the exercises are a live-fire battlefield simulation and a combined exercise involving air, land, and sea. The Taiwan Navy also showed off its first indigenous amphibious transport dock with helicopter landing military vehicles and landing ships. In the face of escalating tensions, the Chinese People's Liberation Army regularly conducts military exercises of various specialties and troop types near Taiwan Island in response to U.S. provocations in the vicinity of the island, which Beijing considers its legitimate territory. The United States and Japan agreed Wednesday that their security and defense treaty will be strengthened and announced the deployment of a more agile marine infantry unit on Allied soil. The talks come 2 days before Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visits the United States as part of a tour of the G7 group. Foreign Minister Yoshimasa Hayashi said the United States and Japan together have the vision of a modernized alliance to acquire the posture to win in the new era of strategic competition. On the other hand, U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, at a press conference with his Japanese counterpart, and the defense ministers of both countries pointed out that the People's Republic of China is the greatest common strategic challenge facing his nation, allies, and their partners. In the United States, singer Marie Presley, the only daughter of the late Elvis Presley and Priscilla Presley, died hours after being hospitalized following a cardiac arrest. Presley's death was confirmed by her mother, Priscilla. The star was found unresponsive in her bedroom by her former husband, Danny Q. Marie was last seen in public on Tuesday night at a Golden Globe Awards in Beverly Hills. Accompanied by her mother, the pair watched the show where Austin Butler won Best Actor in a Film Drama for his portrayal of her father in Lord Herman's movie. Days before her death, she had visited Graceland, the mansion owned by her father in Memphis, Tennessee, to celebrate what will have been his 88th birthday on January the 8th. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.
In a world